Welcome to the Ekhoing Vitality podcast with Josh and Taylor. I'm Josh, a Czech practitioner, and I help you rediscover your vitality.
And I'm Taylor Blakely, your integrative nutritionist with a passion for making wellness simple, sustainable, and fun.
We've been through it all. Back pain, gut issues, the stress of starting over after big moves, and finding our way through life's curveballs.
Now we're here to share real stories, proven tools, and plenty of laughs to help you create a life full of vitality.
So if you're ready to take control of your health and thrive,
let's dive into today's episode, and don't forget, hit subscribe so you can join us every week. Welcome back to Ekhoing Vitality podcast with myself, Taylor, and my husband, Josh. Today, we're going to keep this episode a little short, but very impactful. And it's December 1st. You'll be listening to this on December 6th. But we would just really felt the need to talk to you guys about this topic, which is our one love and how we can goal set, especially this time during the holidays. We still have Christmas coming up this month, and so choosing to love yourself, finding that one love, and Josh is going to do a wonderful job at explaining what that one love is, and then some tips and tricks to help you through the holiday season to actually nail down your goal setting and the reason why you're goal setting, the purpose. You know, there's always got to be an intention behind why you're goal setting. So there's not a lot of depth to your goal setting. Most likely it's going to crumble. It's not going to serve you like you had anticipated maybe. So we just want to help give you some tools, some ideas on how to go about this subject. So yeah, I'm excited to talk to you today about this, my babe.
Yeah, what a great subject. Yeah, I'm excited to be here, excited to talk about goals. Thanks for having me.
Oh my goodness. Yes, you are so welcome. I'm so happy you made time in your busy schedule.
I'm happy you made time as well.
I barely squeezed you in, but we got you in and you're good to go and speak and do all the things.
Yeah.
Okay, so where do you want to start today? We have our notes here.
What is the one love? I guess we can start there.
Okay.
And branch out however it flows. So the one love is essentially your goal. It is your legacy. And the reason it's called your one love is many reasons, but I'll share just one. The one love is essentially, what do you love enough to change for? That becomes your goal. What do you love enough to work towards,
Mm-hmm. So why is it important to frame your goal around this concept of one love?
Well, it's important. Oh, another thing is it can be your dream.
Okay.
Yeah. But I think it's important to have the word love in there because oftentimes when people make goals, and I'm sure you and I have also been guilty of this, of working towards something that we're stating something we don't want. And when we state something we don't want, sometimes that's not quite as strong as what love can be. I'm sure many people, all you guys listening, have probably heard love is the most powerful energy that exists.
Mm-hmm. So an example of stating it in a more negative frame of mind would be I don't want to get sick this season.
Right. That would be your nightmare, right?
Okay.
Well, that's because you have your dream. Mm-hmm. But if you have trouble finding your dream, then yeah, sometimes we do actually look into the nightmare. So it's not like I'm not saying it's bad.
Yeah.
But sometimes in order for us to get to the dream, sometimes people have to look at the nightmare. Okay. And the nightmare, then, as a coach, you and I can take that nightmare and be like, okay, well, let's flip the coin, turn it into a dream. Now you have your one love.
Mm-hmm. And what's flipping the coin mean?
Well, let's take an example, I guess. A nightmare might be like, I've talked about this in previous podcasts.
And that
I think it was in the episode of my story
Okay.
of when I was dealing with constipation.
Yes.
My nightmare was I don't want hemorrhoids. I don't want someone going on my body and having to like cut this thing out of my butthole or however it works.
You're not a surgeon, so
Yeah.
you don't understand.
And you know, if I were to turn that around into a dream, you know, it could be like I want to have, or not I want to. I'd see I would have to like work this out. We'll talk about more of the like saying I want to. It would be more like I have healthy bowels and I'm living a healthy life and it feels amazing. You know, like that might be something better to say.
Okay.
But again, at the same time, it's like seeing a hemorrhoid was powerful for me and for me at that time
Yeah.
to make a change. Because I knew that's what I didn't want.
Yeah.
And I knew what I did want. I just didn't state it at the time.
You felt like you were going down that road towards that nightmare.
Yeah, and I was like, oh gosh, I don't want to do that. So that would be a nightmare.
Yeah.
But
because you didn't necessarily know your dream.
No, I didn't know.
Or your one love.
No.
That concept wasn't like a thing.
No,
then.
exactly.
Okay.
And I guess I would also add when you're living for something you don't want, it's not like you actually have a place to go. You don't have a place to look forward to in your life. But rather you're just doing things because you don't want that. So the path isn't as clear.
When you're walking down the nightmare path.
Yeah.
So down that path, you want to actively try to look for your one love.
Yeah.
Get out of that path and into something that's more in the light.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
That feels good?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It can be helpful, like I said, but ultimately it's good to get to the dream, the goal, the one love.
So it sounds like that being in more of that nightmare state and not knowing like, well, what is my one love? What am I willing to change out of love for myself to create these goals? If you don't know that, but you know, maybe you're just like in this like dark stage of your life where it's just really dark and hard to see. But once you're on that path, there might be little like glimmers of light, that you find on that path because you're kind of on it. You're on this path to doing better or avoiding a bad situation. And it's just steering you in a better direction. So.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. A lot of times too, like again, when we're coaching people and they're maybe all they can find is a nightmare at the time, right? We always meet people where they're at.
Yeah.
And so, okay, that's your nightmare right now. Let's start getting you healthier. This process of getting healthier through all these different modalities and principles of, eating or your environment or your mindset. Like Taylor was saying, eventually you're going to start seeing little glimmers of light where it's like, oh, you're going to start connecting to something that you want to look forward to. And maybe that was a bit foggy because when you're walking your nightmare, it's pretty dark.
Yeah. And it is foggy. Like when you're not healthy, like you've heard the concept of brain fog. Like it's very common. It's really hard to like work on things when you are foggy and you're unclear. And it's not like healthy people don't experience that. Like healthy people in general experience brain fog often too. But it's knowing what your one love is to being able to get out of there, right?
Yeah.
Getting out of there and, passing, waiting for the fog to pass, essentially, and then being more So when I work with my clients, like being more in tune with like your intuition, like it's really hard to be tapped into your intuition when you're not healthy or doing action steps to like get more connected to yourself. Like it's really important to put some intention behind your goals because you're working with your intention. What feels good, for one, what feels good in that moment. If it doesn't feel good, it most likely is either you're uncomfortable with the situation and it can still be really good for you, or B, like if you know yourself and you know your intention, maybe it's not a good fit and you got to listen to that, so you got to really be honest with yourself when you're making your goals and having intention. What is it that you want out of this goal?
Oh yeah. Intention is good. And I always reference Paul because I've learned a lot from him over the last 4 years. Paul Chek. But another thing I learned from that guy with intentions, setting an intention with a goal, especially, is, well, one, by setting the goal in a proper format, you are putting your goal in tension. So you're basically setting it forth to go forward for your life.
And that's also uncomfortable because it's tension, right?
Yeah, it's tension. Yeah, tension. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's part of that like uncomfortableness there. Like, is it, is this decision like to go out there and, like, for me, like being filmed is uncomfortable for me, but in this format, it's helping ease me into this, and it's uncomfortable, but I know it's right and it feels good. So my intention is getting my message out there to our listeners and to anybody who is seeking help and self-improvement and things like that. And so that's one of my intentions of filming. And yeah, so was a decision, like, do I film or not film? Do I do other things or do I film? And, I'm like, oh, I could do other things, but those don't feel as good as, like, filming right now, even though it's still uncomfortable. So, anyways, talking about intention there.
Yeah. Tension is good.
Yes.
It doesn't always feel good.
Yeah. It helps you grow. It really does.
Yeah, it will feel good eventually.
Yeah. And then you'll be comfortable, and then you'll have to find new intentions. That's the cool thing about, like, a soul's evolution is, like, your soul is always wanting to challenge you and have you be adaptable in all environments and circumstances and whatever else. So instead of using the words, why me? Why? Being in more of that victim state, your soul is literally working you, making you stronger for your evolution. And that's something that keeps me going, is if I go through something very challenging, okay, it's teaching me all kinds of things that I don't know necessarily at the time, but all I can say is this past year has taught me a lot about that. So anyways.
Yeah.
So with the one love and goal setting, kind of keeping this on topic here, what are some ways that we do that? There's got to be some tips and tricks, and how do you implement it in your day-to-day life? Where do you put the intention? Does it stay in your mind? I talk to a lot of people who say, oh yeah, I thought about that. And I am guilty of this too. Like, I thought about that. It's in my mind. I think about it all the time. And sometimes you just need somebody to tell you to literally put it on paper. And my coach, Mel, she's absolutely wonderful. She has been hosting these Fuego Fridays, and it's just a bunch of really awesome business-minded people, very like-minded, very holistic, and she had one of the speakers there. Her name's Sarah Barb, and she's absolutely wonderful. And she's like, before you leave today, make sure you write down your values or schedule it into your calendar so you do it. And another topic too was like time blocking, like where do you put your energy in for your day and so you're most productive. And she actually messaged us and she's like, hey, I know you didn't ask, but did you do that? And I thought that was really cool. Like she followed through and she didn't have to, but it was a really great reminder, of like,
yeah, that was cool.
We need to do that. And so
because we didn't, so
we didn't, but we put our energy into something else that was important for us to get there.
Yeah.
So anyways, like we did take something from you, Sarah Barb. And then we did do our values though.
Yeah, so, we ultimately got it done, but
we wrote them down and it was wonderful. And we just sat down and said, okay, we need to write down our values and do it until we feel like we're done, Yeah. And it could change over time too. Like that came up in our conversation, which I thought was interesting and cool. But anyways, so yeah, there's tips and tricks out there that really just help you, and you get to choose. This is where that decision making happens, where you are literally the creator of your life. You get to choose the path you want to go down. If it's foggy, just keep on pushing through until the fog lifts. Like it really does help when you put the intention out there. So anyways, do you want to start off with one of your tips? I know you gave one away already, but
I gave it away.
Yeah.
Yep.
Any other?
It's all yours.
Okay, all me.
Well, I will add, since we're talking about values.
Okay.
A lot of times when we're working with people, I know when I work with my clients, one thing I always start with is the one love. I think it's always important to start with that because it creates the map to go somewhere for a clear path. But then I think it's important also to have the values set in place
before you begin.
I think so, because it gives you sort of a compass from which to make your decisions.
Yeah. Does this support my one love?
Yeah. Exactly.
Okay.
So that would be my tip, I guess.
Okay.
Get your values in order.
Yeah. I like it. So put some time on your calendar. Thank you, Sarah Barb. And write down your values.
Why don't you just do it right now? Just freaking stop, push the pause button, put in your calendar, gonna do my values on this day. And then come back, push play, and we'll keep going.
Yeah. All right. So now that you have your values all written out, so here are our tips to helping you set some goals, and let's dive into it.
I know you didn't pause the video. Okay.
Oh, we're calling
Pause
you
it
out.
right now. Pause it right now. And go put it in your calendar.
If you're driving, say, hey Siri,
Yeah.
remind me to put this in my calendar. I have to do that all the time, so
Yeah.
no shame. Use your hey Siri.
Oh.
Oh, it's
Siri-
deleted.
Siri was talking to us. Let me just turn that off.
Siri went to put it in the calendar. So anyways,
That's funny.
here is some tips. So kind of like what Josh was saying earlier, like the grand, or no, did you talk about the grand? No. Oh, never mind. We were talking about
Well, hey,
this
there's
off
a new tip.
script. Okay, babe, I will let you go.
Well, actually, to be honest, we will come back to that.
Okay.
I will reference this though. So you guys know how important it is to have goals. I know I'm the type of person very guilty of this, of always having goals in my mind and never writing them down. But I guess that's better than having nothing, right?
Yeah.
However, I know
That's where it's foggy.
Yeah.
It's there, but it's there. Keep going, and then here's the tip.
Yeah. So, just to put some importance on this, there was a study. let me pull it up real fast. It was in the Journal of Psychosomatic Research. Let me see. It's titled "Purpose in Life Predicts Allostatic Load 10 Years Later." And I would read the authors' names, but they're kind of weird. Maybe I'll just give it a go. Samuel Zilioli, Richard B. Slatcher, Anthony D. Ong, Tara L. Grenewald.
There you go.
Wow, we made it. Anyhow, so I'll just read like a couple, the objective real fast. Objective, or in the abstract, is living a purposeful life is associated with better mental and physical health, including longevity. Accumulating evidence shows that these associations might be explained by the association between life purpose and regulation of physiological systems involved in the stress response. So, let me see. Plenty of evidence has shown that a greater purpose is associated with decreased mortality in both older and younger adults in different cultures. So I thought that was quite interesting. Mm-hmm. And for those of you, probably, I forget if I said allostatic load.
Yes, you did.
Okay, mm-hmm. I did. Allostatic load is essentially all the stressors in your life in an accumulation of a total number or a total factor, I guess.
Think about it as like you have a huge backpack that is just constantly being filled with all the stressors. Like your body does not differentiate any type of stress, whether that be from pesticides, from our foods, whether that be stress from work. What are some other stress? Oh, exercise is a type of stress.
Yeah. Musculoskeletal, could be nutritional, could be chemical, hormonal, financial, lots of things. Yeah,
so you just keep packing it in that backpack. And over time, it can get really big. Like, think about, like, just having a huge bag of rocks and boulders, so...
Yeah, so the backpack gets kind of heavy. So here's where it's interesting. In this study, in a large sample of adults living in the U.S., we found that a greater sense of life purpose, the extent to which people report having meaning and direction in their life, predicted lower levels of allostatic load. So the reason I wanted to share this study, it is purpose in life, but when you're setting goals, you either have a purpose in life or you're working towards a purpose in life.
Or you're running away from your nightmare, right?
Yeah, exactly. So if you want a lower allostatic load, or what we would call in the Czech system a physiological load, then try to figure out your purpose, your dream, your one love.
Yeah.
And start making some goals to get there.
It seems like that feels lighter. When you have purpose, like you're less stressed, for one. You're happier. Your stress response is probably better when you are living in your purpose.
Oh, yeah.
And stress, the cool thing about stress is, we need it. I don't know if many of you know that. We actually need it.
Stress isn't always bad.
Stress hormone, cortisol, is actually very needed in our bodies to survive. It's something that signals to our body that, hey,
it's time to wake up.
It's time to wake up in the morning. That's literally what helps us. And if you don't have enough cortisol firing at the proper times in the day, you're probably going to have maybe higher cortisol in the evening when melatonin should be activated, but sometimes it's the opposite. So people have a hard time waking up in the morning because their melatonin is kind of doing its thing in the morning when it should be here at night. So anyways, like cortisol is very much needed, but when it's too much, that's when it can wreak havoc on the body. But also, Like inflammation, just as a tidbit information here, that's a type of stress on the body, but inflammation is good. Like we need that to heal.
Yeah.
But it's chronic inflammation that gets us in trouble. So anyways, there's all these things that our bodies aren't working against us. It's just giving us signs. It's talking to us. The body has a language, and we can either ignore it or we can do our best to try to pinpoint, like, what is it trying to tell me with this? Oh, my knee's hurting, How do I address my knee pain? There's got to be a reason. It just doesn't hurt out of nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, you should fix. There we go. Okay. Anyway, sorry, we had to fix Josh's.
My mic was
Mic.
out of whack. It was
Yeah.
wreaking havoc on my allostatic load.
Yes, it was. And I noticed it, so I had to help him out. Okay, so I really appreciate that you brought in that study, because I think a lot of people don't realize that stress accumulates in the body and it's all the same. But how do we put our intention out there to reduce that stress? And that's having goals, having a plan. Mentally, you want to get things out of your head and put it down on paper. I know for me, like if I go to bed at night and I have so much on my mind, I'm like, okay, I didn't do a good job at off-putting what I needed to do on paper or in my notes on my phone or something. Like I gotta put it somewhere, and that's when I use the Hey Siri, like remind me to do this. I offloaded it off of my brain.
What do you want to be reminded about?
And Siri's talking to me again.
Okay.
So-
I added talking to me again to the
Siri added talking to me again on my reminders list, so that's great.
We can't say her name anymore.
So, okay. Anyways, let's go into a couple other tips here. So, choosing one commitment per week is going to be super helpful. What is it that you want to put intention to? Just one thing, If you try adding, it's like, say your goal is I want to be healthy. One, that's not a really clear goal, right?
Right.
And it's not talking about it in the proper form like Josh had mentioned, and he'll talk about that soon. But committing to at least one thing, that's all you got to do is focus on that one thing. And then when you feel like you have mastered it, move on to the next. You don't want to be adding too many things to your already busy schedule, because that's stressful. But if you can just focus and put your intention into one thing, I believe we all have the capability, the ability to do that. And if you can't, you might have to look at offloading. But then again, that puts more intention into like, what do I need to offload in my life? That could be one of your intentions. Literally do that for the whole week. Do I need to delegate something? Like if you're a business owner, do I need to delegate certain tasks to somebody else? So just start thinking about that one thing you want to commit to. And I think you'll do really well at that. You just got to put some intention behind it.
Yeah, I agree. Those are great points.
Yeah.
What else you got for the people?
Okay, so another thing, it kind of plays along with this one as well, the last one, is committing to at least one self-improvement thing a week. Whether that's reading a book, listening to a podcast, exercising, like just do it once a week. Like set aside 30 minutes to do one self-improvement thing.
Yeah, even 15 minutes.
Yeah.
If 30 minutes feels crazy.
Yeah, do it in bite-sized chunks, because self-improvement is crucial for change. Like you really have to challenge yourself. You're gonna feel like one morning you're like super ready to work out and do it every day this week, and then by tomorrow you're like, I am so sore. Nope, not doing that. And then you feel like a failure, So it's like, just do the one thing until you feel like you've mastered it. And then add a little bit more. And it doesn't have to be the same thing every day. Like one day you can choose to listen to a podcast, and then say that's on Monday. You're like, Mondays are my podcast days. Listen to one self-improvement podcast. And then when you feel like you mastered like that habit, you want to move on to like, what else can I add into my week that would make me feel good? Okay, I want to work out once a week. Okay, 15-minute workout. I'll add that to my Thursdays. Cool. Once you feel like you've done that consistently enough, then you can continue to just like add and tweak wherever you need to for that self-improvement. Self-improvement is huge. Self-improvement can be a bath for your mental health, because that is very important. So I think that would be something to work on,
Yeah, I think something I'd add to this, those are really great points. I think it's important for people to remember what you just said, for one. But I think we would be missing out if we did not mention Atomic Habits, the book. I forget the author's name, but
I forget too.
Atomic Habits.
I see it right now looking at our...
It's literally on our bookshelf right next to us. There's a chapter in that book where he talks about simply improving or changing things 1% at a time. And the example in his book was, I think it was, maybe it was the Germans or French or something like that, about this country was dominating in bike riding. What the hell is that called?
Oh, yeah.
Bike riding?
The
Tours or whatever?
Tour de France or something
like
that.
Anyhow.
I think it was in France. Maybe.
Basically, all they would do was improve things by 1% to get ahead of the game. For example, they might fill the air in the tires with a very specific air at the optimal pressure. Or maybe they would give the rider an optimized helmet for airflow, for aerodynamics. Or maybe they would choose a different oil for the chain. Or maybe
and all of those things just add up 1%.
They add up they add up and compound and made them the champions, and it made them hard to beat, essentially. So what Taylor's saying, maybe podcasts on Monday, and then master that, that's a 1% type of thing. And maybe the 1% for that task is literally just find a podcast you like first, and then follow them, and then figure out, maybe you even have to figure out, like, what app do I need? What app do I like? Spotify or Apple or something else? YouTube. So you're probably starting to see how like these little 1% steps can add up and compound. Another example would be like Taylor's talking about working out. Well, maybe you work out at home. We'll just use that as an example. Maybe now you have to find a workout program. Or maybe it's simple as like, I just want to do like 5 push-ups and that's it for a couple weeks until I feel good about that. Then maybe you find a free workout on YouTube that's like 10 minutes long, body weight only. Maybe you just put your workout clothes out so that you're ready to work out and change into your workout clothes. So anyways, you can start to see how you can break these things down into really, really small steps.
Yeah. I like that. That gave me another reminder of another book. I haven't read it, but I've listened to his podcast many times, is Ed Milet. He has a podcast, and he has his idea of the power of one more. The power of one.
Oh yeah, pretty similar.
It's a similar concept, and I think it's important to find the people whether that be podcasts or like people in your corner who resonate with you, where it's like, does that make sense for me? You know, like the 1% more every day, you know, or is it the power of one, just one more? And you just have to, you know, what resonates with you? You never know, you know, explore, find the options. And even if you feel like you've listened to one podcast, you're like, this is the one, but you're like, I don't really want to listen to this one podcast. Find one that resonates with you and listen to it. Like I did that a few years ago with the Shalene show, Shalene Johnson. And she is incredible, and I'll still listen to her podcast every now and again. But it was her podcast that literally kept me interested. It was easy to, and this is where like this flow, like I chose to listen to the podcast, but I had to find the one. I had to find the one, and it goes back to the power of one. You just need the one to make all the difference. And for me, it was that show. So I was able to easily, gladly listen to a podcast on many different subjects. A lot of it was self-improvement, and then a lot of it was entertainment too. But it got me into this mindset of like, okay, I want to do things for myself because this feels good to me. I can implement this. And at the time, I was managing a group of people, up to 15 or so, and a lot of it was on mindset and working with people, like how do you get the best out of people and whatnot. And so like for me, it was really relevant, and I loved that. So find something. It doesn't have to be a podcast. Maybe it's a book. And even if you explore the first chapter or two and you keep exploring all the books, like that's still 1% more. It's not failing because you're looking for what resonates with you, what's going to keep you going. So when you find the one, I think you'll feel that flow. Like self-improvement, when you're actively working on yourself through your goals and whatnot, there should be slight resistance because that's growth, but it also should feel good to the soul, and that's flow. So I just want you guys to find the one thing that will keep you going. And, you know, that's your one love. What is that?
Yeah.
Going back to that. So.
Nice.
Anything to add to that?
I have some things I'll add later.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So I thought this one was really cool. Do an intentional weekly check-in for your health. I feel like this is something that even I need to work on a more regular basis, but it's everything from like, well, how is my energy levels? How's my energy levels this week? And I do this, like especially when I'm coaching my clients, because we work on a weekly basis and we do a lot of like menstrual health monitoring, but it's not just that week of the period, it's literally the whole month. And so the weekly check-ins, it's like, okay, how did I feel? How was my digestion? How was my vitality? You know, like, did I have the energy to do the things that I set out to do? And if you didn't, evaluate that. What does that look like? You know, and you can evaluate your sleep. And you could do this all by like putting it in a tracking journal. And we have one that we give to our clients, our female clients especially, because we need to track everything for the cycle in order to make change. And it might seem daunting, but once you figure it out, and it just becomes so much easier. It takes a little bit of time, but once you know what foods bother you, what interrupts your sleep, you know, so there's all these things that will help you. We just got to uncover it. So we want to make sure that you're bringing awareness to that, and then with your goal setting, what is it that you want to work on that week? So just do a little check-in. What is it that I need to work on this week? So that's my other one.
Yeah. Yeah. Check-ins are good.
Yeah. And check in with your partner, check in with a friend, check in with your coach.
Yeah.
Check in with yourself.
This thing I heard on, I think it was Mind Pump podcast, maybe. They were talking about how people get obese. Preface, that can happen in many different ways, and there's many different causes. But one thing that they mentioned was these people don't check in with themselves in the fact that they never look in the mirror. And so it's kind of like the concept, I think, of watching your dog grow. You know, when someone's like, oh, wow, they're getting so big. And you're like, oh, I don't know. They look the same to me because you see them all the time.
Yeah.
But so they don't ever see themselves getting bigger. And again, preface, there's many ways that obesity happens. But yeah, those check-ins are important, I think. It could be as simple as looking at yourself in the mirror and being like, wow, I feel great. Or, damn, I think I should probably do something about that.
Yeah. I like that you mentioned that too, because so I have a sheet that I also use with my clients, and the weekly check-in is literally looking at your teeth, your tongue. It has you look at your eyes, like look at your face, like just looking at yourself, you know, not in judgment.
Yeah.
That's a really distinct thing that I want to preface, is that there's never judgment. It's just observation. You never want that.
We listen, we don't judge.
Yeah, we listen, we don't judge.
That's the new trend on Instagram Reels and TikTok.
Oh my gosh. I feel like
right
we should
now,
do
anyways.
one. I feel like we should do one. But yeah, seriously, we are not passing judgment when we do this. It's just bringing awareness and attention to areas of your body, because I think it can be so easy, especially when you have a hard time loving yourself. Like, I know for me at one point in my life, like, it was just hard to look at myself. It was, especially naked, like, it was so hard to get dressed. I'm like, no, just put my clothes on and feel uncomfortable and feel heavy and feel sad and whatnot.
It was easy for me.
Oh my gosh, get out of here. That's because other people see you with a lot kinder eyes. We have the most judgment towards ourselves for whatever reason, but other people see you in such a different light. So that's why it's so important to surround yourself with people who see your potential, who tell you your potential.
Yeah.
Find those people who do that and challenge you and make you go, oh yeah, I do see more of myself, you know, like I am made for more. So put yourself around those people, because when you do that, they're gonna be the ones, you know, reaching through the fog when things are so foggy, with their hands through the fog and you see it. They're gonna be the ones to help you through. So you just have to be open to that. And it's uncomfortable, like I said, for a lot of people, especially if you are on the more introverted side. And you just want to just surround yourself with the people who get you. Like, who are those people? And write a list. Who are the people who get me? And will they be able to support your one love? And if not, you know, it's okay. You know, just find the other people. You can still have love for them, but find the people who are going to uplift you and challenge you and push you for growth. And
that's a good
I think
point.
you'll feel so much better when you do that. So, anyways,
that was a good thing to mention, actually. With the dream, you have your dream. Hopefully, you have your dream figured out, or maybe you're going to figure it out after this podcast. You also want to find your dream team. And I want to explain it because Taylor basically just did, but people who support you basically.
Is that your explanation?
No, I was just saying I think that's
Okay.
an important thing to mention is to have a
Yeah.
dream team.
Yes. Yeah. I like it.
Yeah. Like Taylor would be on my dream team because she supports my goals and my vision and our goals and our vision.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Yeah. Find those people.
and anyone else, kick them to the fucking curb.
Yeah. Yeah. There's boundaries. Boundaries. That could be a whole other topic.
Yeah, that's a whole other thing. People aren't always going to support you. And
They may love you and support you in other ways, but when it comes to your dreams, you really have to be clear on that.
Yeah.
So
Maybe don't completely kick them to the curb.
Yeah.
It depends who they are, I guess.
yeah, if they bring harm to your life, if they bring chaos to your life, if they bring something that really unsettles your nerves, unsettles your soul, whatever that may be, look at that. Look at that. Is it worth it?
Are they worth my time and energy?
Yeah, you really have to look at your...
And that's not snobby.
It's not.
It's not.
It's
it might
not
sound
snobby.
like it to somebody who doesn't have boundaries
Yeah.
or doesn't have any power in their no.
Yeah. So, be powerful.
Yeah. All right, what else we got?
Okay, I
Stay
think...
on the dream thing.
Yes, no, I think we need to talk about your Grand Canyon test.
Oh, yeah, let's talk about the Grand Canyon
And then that's
test.
our last one.
Okay, yeah. Well, no, we do need to talk about, just to set context for the Grand Canyon test, how do you write a goal? There are a couple different methods. One that most people have probably heard of, maybe you haven't, is the SMART goals. And if I remember right, it stands for specific, measurable, attainable, reachable, and timely. Something like that. Anyways, that's one way of setting goals, is to have all of those things in your goal when you write it down. So it has a time or a duration or something like that. It's realistic.
Oh, I think it's realistic.
Oh yeah, realistic.
Not reachable.
Yeah, that's not.
Realistic.
That's why I was like, reachable? I
Yeah.
don't think that's right.
I'm like, that doesn't sound right.
Yeah. It's attainable. For example, if you're making $50,000 a year, stating that you want to make $1 million next year, it's probably not realistic. Can it happen? Sure. There's some anomalies out there, but that's pretty unrealistic. So, and then timely, again, you're putting a time frame on it. But the other way that we like to use is I simply write it. I have my clients write it as if it is happening or it has happened. So someone might have back pain or digestive issues or something. Well, writing it out as I want to feel better or I don't want back pain. Saying I want to is not dream affirmative. It is dream wanting. It's dreaming. Only dreaming.
It's almost like you don't believe it can happen.
Yeah. And this, I'm sure, again, I've said that Taylor and I are guilty of some of these things, and this is one of those too.
We're human.
Like, hey, I want to go do this. Or I should go do this. Like, we can change our words around to this is how I would write the goal. I work with clients generally 6 to 12 months. It is 6 months from now. My back pain is gone. I'm able to hike the Grand Canyon and I feel amazing. That would be how I would write it. And how the Grand Canyon test comes into play is, let's say that the goal is, I want to feel better. I want to lose 10 pounds, whatever. Well, pretend you're standing on the edge of the Grand Canyon and you yell out and it echoes back. Well, it echoes back, I want to lose 10 pounds. Or I want to feel better.
So it's not affirmative.
It's not affirmative. Versus if you write the goal out, it is 6 months from now, my back pain is gone and I feel amazing hiking the Grand Canyon. Now, what does the Grand Canyon say? I look and feel amazing. I'm hiking the Grand Canyon and it's awesome. You know, that's more dream affirmative. It's not saying like, oh, I want to still. I want to. I want to. I want to.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the Grand Canyon test.
So you could even say like a specific dates. Like,
Yeah, you could
like
say
3 months from now, like whatever that date is.
Yeah, like it's
say,
July 27th, 2025. Yeah, exactly.
And I look and feel amazing. I have energy, and then that's what the Grand Canyon is gonna say back to you if you say that.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So putting your energy out there, your intention, because everything is energy.
Yeah.
And you put your, like, how cool is that? That if you do that, if you were to go out there, like, you would hear that echo. Isn't that funny?
Yeah.
That echo.
It would echo back your vitality.
It would. It would echo that back to you, which I think is phenomenal. Which is also just a little tidbit why we named this Echoing Vitality, because it's energy. Whatever you put out there, you know, goes out in waves, because that's what it's like, and it impacts the people around you. And so that's why it's so important to put yourself in those atmospheres with people. Like if someone is high vibrating and you're like, I want to vibrate like that person, they just have something that is what I want, that's loving, that's confidence. I feel wonderful. They look like they're healthy and happy, you know, and if that's something you aspire to be like, well, put yourself around people who are like that.
Yeah. That's the dream team.
That's the dream team.
Yeah. And I also wanted to add something I thought about earlier. When you're creating a goal, you know, 12 months from now, I do think it is important to break that bigger goal. Well, actually, I personally like to reverse engineer things. So you come up with the 12-month goal maybe, or the 2-year, 5-year, 10-year, whatever you're doing right now. And then reverse engineer that into smaller goals. Because something Taylor's coach talks about, Mel, is something about an elephant. What is it exactly? How to eat an elephant or something?
How to eat an elephant, one bite at a time.
Oh, right, yeah. And another concept to make that more understandable would be, when I was going to hike the PCT, that's a 2,600 mile trail.
It's pretty big.
And when you set out, like, I'm going to go hike the PCT, you're like, fuck, dude, 2,600 miles? Like, I don't know how I'm going to do that. But then I was, doing research, trying to find gear lists and people's experiences and things like that. And I came across a blog back then that was like, honestly, if you just think of the PCT as like 50 1-week backpacking trips, like literally 1 week at a time, from town to town.
Yeah.
And then it's like, oh, okay, okay, I could do that. And then you're like, well, I guess it's really just walking. So then it's like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
I guess I could do that. That doesn't seem too bad. Of course, there's other logistics that you have to think about. But, when it comes to your goals, if you're like, I want to lose 200 pounds, that might seem pretty daunting to some people. Well, it's like, well, let's just take it, 1 month at a time. Maybe you lose like 5 pounds a month, or maybe it's only 2 pounds a month. and you just start to make little changes, like we were saying earlier, to
The
reach
1%.
those. Yeah, the 1%. So you can break these things down into more feasible, more attainable, smart goals, so they seem easier for you and less daunting.
Yeah. Awesome.
Possum.
Awesome possum. I think that's pretty cool. You know, I bet people didn't really realize that you hiked the PCT.
Yeah.
600 miles of it.
I did, 650 miles of the desert, which sucked.
The hardest. Or I don't know if it would be the hardest, right? That's all challenging in different ways,
It's
right?
all challenging in different ways, yeah. I mean, because hiking through the desert, it's obviously hot, and you have to carry a lot of water.
Yeah.
But then when you get into the Sierra, it's like cold, your feet are wet all the time, and things are frozen. There's rivers you have to cross,
Yeah.
So it's just different challenges.
Yeah. Which all shape you. So
Yeah.
all the challenges shape you, but
Yeah.
yeah. Well, I hope that helps with your goal setting, especially going into the holiday season. Like, what is your one love? What are you willing to change for, you know, for your one love?
Yeah. Let's, what do you say we leave these cool cats off with a nice quote?
Okay. While you find that, I just want to touch on a couple of things here before we go.
Yeah.
So I would like to challenge you today, after you listen to this, write down your one love. And if you don't know what that is yet, like, what is it that you fear the most? And then once you figure that out, pick something off of the list here, whether that's write your goal in the present as if you've already accomplished it, and then yell it out into the universe, and or the Grand Canyon. And then the other one is choose one commitment per week, whether that's self-improvement or something else that you're wanting to work on. And another one is track your lifestyle. Like, maybe that's the whole thing that you do for the next week. Like, just choose one of these items. And then, I think those are the ones. So choose one of those. Which one resonates with you the most? And which one are you most willing to do at this time? Because it is going into the holiday season. So just choose one. You know, if you do that, you're already ahead of the game. Like, you don't need January 1st to get started. You can start making little 1% improvements every day. So if you think about that, 1% every day, that's essentially, if you start today, which is December 1st for us, that's 31% better, by the end of the month. If you start on December 6th, so however many days, that's just, you're at least 3 weeks %, if that makes sense.
3 weeks %.
Whatever number that is, before January 1st, you're already going to be that much better than you were before.
Yeah.
So it's just you against you, and so just choose one. Choose one.
Okay, so here's a good point as I was looking at this quote. Going back to the one love real quick. Creating something that you love is important because I was just reading this and it was a good reminder.
Okay.
People oftentimes get stuck in loops because they're working towards something they do not want. Therefore, they don't know how to create something that they do want. And so by creating your one love and establishing your wants, dreams, and desires, you're creating a more clear path. And that is unconditional love. So you're not judging yourself as you're making these goals. So I just thought that was a good point.
Yeah.
But to end it, the quote is by psychologist Jerry Wesh. And he says, when you have a big enough dream, you don't need a crisis.
I like it.
It's a good one. Anyways, that's it. Thanks for listening, you guys.
Yeah, thank you.